Heaven Sanction coming in. Whoa. Just killing him outright. Hey guys, Iceborne here. Welcome back to another video where this time I'll be reviewing Shelfaniel. So she's apparently the twin sister of Angelina, and what you see here is a really pretty looking princessy maid. I think as far as outfits go, this is the most princessy outfit I've ever seen. And look at these nice earrings that complement her look very well. And she's got these really cool looking jester hat, which makes her very otherworldly and a very cute looking star. So as far as waifu material goes, she's your go-to waifu if you need a cook, a housekeeper, and a maid. Because boy oh boy, she does it all, as well as being a princess on top. So you're getting all those things in one package. So you can expect her to tidy up your dirty ass bedroom, and if your cat is on fire, she's the woman for the job. Now let's take a closer look at her. Now starting at the very top, she is a cleric class, which is effective against demons. Actually, if you think about it, it's might be even better than being a mage class, because the mage class has no advantages. It might be even better, okay? And she's only in one faction, which is the Princess Alliance. So we're gonna see later if the rest of her kit makes up, because being in one alliance restricts her flexibility and team building options. Now if we look at her stats, she's got really solid stats all around. Definitely a plus on most of the stats that you want her to be good at, which is S for int and S for magic defense. And this makes her a really good unit to bring for the Ice Dragon as well as being a great duelist for mages in the arena especially. Now moving on, we have her talent, which is Magic Lineage, and it's going to be increasing her int the higher your unit's HP is. So I'm not sure is it the mistranslation, I'm pretty sure it's the hero's HP, not the soldier's HP. So the higher HP your hero is, it's going to increase your int. So that's definitely very achievable, because your troops are going to be your front line anyways. And whenever a skill is used to deal damage, the cooldown of that skill, so this translation again, that skill is reduced by 1. So for example, if you cast this skill, then it'll just be 1 round, okay? Now I'm not sure what happens if you get to max level, because there's no information on the wiki for that. So if you guys know what happens when you get to max level, that'll be great. I really want this one to go down to 2, and then this would have 0 cooldown, for example. This time, instead of rambling about her skills for 10 minutes, I'm going to do something different. So let me know guys if this is better or not as well. So what I'm going to do to make this quicker is I'm going to actually just hover over her skills, and I'll let you guys make up your mind over that. And you can look at the wiki page for her skills if you want as well. So and then I'm just going to give you my take on the best builds for her. So I think that'll make it a bit quicker than usual. So these are some of the builds that I really recommend on her in terms of the skill set. So the first one is if you don't plan on using her as a faction buffer. So if you have a Luna already or something like that, then you know you can use her just these skills for PvE. And the reason why I like to have a single target damage is that the second skill, which is a Magic Defense Break, synergizes really well with her single target move, okay? And plus it's got a really short cooldown at 1 turn alongside her talent passive, so that means it's very spammable. And then you have your ultimate move, which can be used if there's a lot of enemies, so it's good in all situations. Very versatile. Having this, your damage is going to be consistently good, as opposed if you have a higher cooldown AoE skill. And then the second one is if you need her as a faction buffer, which I certainly need, and I'm certainly using to replace Luna. So this is the single target spell that you have here, but you have a 1 cost, which is the Magic Defense Break, and then you have a faction buff. So this is the one that I'm using, and I find it pretty good so far, because the problem with her is that she doesn't get a very good 1 cost skill. So like Bozil, he gets a really good 1 cost skill to complement his AoE skills, which is the Seal, which if you do an AoE skill, like it's gonna have a chance for you to like silence people with that 1 cost passive. But she doesn't get anything of that nature that complements her AoE skills, which means her only complement is the single target damage And that's exactly the reason why I'm going with this build for PvE uses mostly. And you're gonna see that in action a bit later as well, and where I'll compare both builds. So, and then for PvP, we have going with 2 different free cooldown spells, and then we're going with a healing. Okay, so this is because you're going to be up against enemy mages, which means you need the healing, which is really good. And then you have the really short cooldown 210 AoE skills, which is going to be up very shortly, especially if you have a clock. Okay, so definitely this is one of the best builds. Or you can run this build, either going one of these 3 turn cooldown AoE spells and your ultimate skill, which is very damaging, but it doesn't have a nice PvP side effect like this one does. So this is your silence and this is your buff removal. Okay, but this is very damaging, so definitely consider going this build as well. And then if you need her as a faction buffer, I highly recommend just going with a Heaven Sanction and faction buff and your healing for PvP. Simply for the reason that you just wanted to do her burst damage and call it a day. But with these ones, you're gonna kind of risk your like unit being a bit useless as well, because like you use this one and then you still have like 1 or 2 turns cooldown, right, remaining. So like I'd rather just use this one and just call it a day rather than, you know, using this one and having to wait for cooldowns. That's just a personal preference, I think. So yeah, that's the skill sets that I prefer. For her class, I haven't advanced her fully. And for the soldiers, I'm actually sticking to these tier 2 troops, believe it or not. Because look at this, the soldier's HP is 100%, attack increases by 20%. That's the best multiplier I've seen. Now you look at these Shrine Maidens, are pretty good as well, but it's a defensive unit. The Wizard is probably the best one because it's pretty offensive and defensive and it's got the best stats. Now these ones are quite interesting because they're like water units. You know, realistically you're not going to be in water too much and she doesn't have water control. But the good thing is that these ones belong in the flyer training, so naturally the stats are going to be really good if you train your flyers pretty good. Okay. And we have this one last interesting troop, which is the Sky Archer, and this is actually going to make a flying unit. So that's very interesting, and good thing about it is when you attack it's going to increase 10% as well. So this is another reason why I'm going with her with the cleanse move, because when you're attacking, these troops synergize really well, giving you more attack. Now do keep in mind that, notice this one, normal attacks deal MM damage. So like this will synergize very well with her M defense break, whereas this one doesn't relax that. So her attacks are physical damage, I believe, which is the reason I really like Witch. Now I'm not sure if she can fly with these Witch as well, but we'll test that later. So I really want her to get Sorceress, but that's not the case, she doesn't really get that. And for equipment, I'm going with Clock right now, but I do believe it's not the best enchantment for my build, and I probably want something else instead, so let's have a look at my enchantments. It is the most versatile though, using Clock on her. So Full Moon would be really good on her. Yeah, Full Moon would make her a lot better as well than what I'm doing here. But Clock actually makes her be able to always use a range if it goes off. So it's not too bad either. So it's either Full Moon or this Clock, I believe, if you're going with the same build that I am. I've always considered going Magic for that AoE boost. And for equipment, I'm going with Secret Art Staff, and I'm going with Gaze for the accessory, so I can debuff them a little bit as well. And I'm going with a Warlock's Hood, which is going to reduce the magic defense, and an Alchemy Robe, which when attacked, you're going to be able to reduce the enemy's damage dealt by 20%. Okay, so I'm going to be testing some damage with different troops. And keep in mind that this is time trial, so it's like cutting up half my damage. So now I'm going to test it, but this time use the other troops. I'm going to use a Sky Archer instead and see how much damage we're going to do. So even though it's like way more power, I want to see if it actually does anything. Like, let's try that. Let's attack. See, the damage is a lot weaker. It's a lot weaker. Yeah, so what else we have? Yeah, let's try Shrine Maidens. So as you see there, that's not actually too bad. Like, that damage is really close to Sorceress. It's actually really close. So I believe this is actually the better troop because you're gonna get reduced damage. Okay, now let's see her damage compared to Chris. So I'm gonna use this one first and we'll see. So that's 6,000 damage, but she didn't get her siphon off. Okay. Okay, now let's try with Chris and see how much damage we do. Okay, so that's a bit less. So you see that she's doing the similar amount of damage to Chris with the same sort of gears. Okay. So you see that actually my Chris has more power than her, yet she's actually doing more damage with her skill, okay? And plus she wasn't even getting her magic defense break off to amplify her damage even more, okay? Okay, invulnerable to magic defense down, sadly. Oh wow, that's doing so much damage. This is a preview of 11, but you can see what it can do. This is just OP. Wow, okay. Okay, let's take her to PvP and see how much damage her AoE skills can do. So I'm going to first turn nuke them with my Letitia team. So buff, and I'll buff again. Maybe I should use Tiaras as well to see how much damage she's going to do with Tiaras. Let's actually use Bozal first, because maybe I can get some cool debuffs off. Okay, that guy's got a damage down. Wow, look at that. Just with one move with Bozal and you get all of these effects. I don't know what to say. Okay, so that's just OP, what Bozal did just there. Now I'm gonna do a Demolish. Wow, did that just kill? That just killed something. And I'm gonna again her so she can do Heaven Sanction. Now I apologize if I'm not doing this in World Arena right now, because once I get to gold in World Arena, these guys are really tough, since all I did is work on Shuri, I didn't really work on PvP team. And wow, that just killed something. But I think she's dead from that, probably. Yeah. Oh wow, but Leon died too from... Wow. And actually I get an earthquake on me, which means my attack is actually down from that. So which means it's not going to be doing the maximum potential. But look at this. Heaven Sanction going in. Wow. Just from one move, half of their health is gone. And it killed someone. Just reduced their health to half from that. Okay, let's also test her in the gold dungeon and see how she does there. Let's actually just wait it out a bit. Just do this first and just keep it chill, I guess. Wow, that's doing a lot of damage. Okay, now I'm gonna do the black hole. Yeah, in fact I should have started with black hole. Get almost everyone with Heaven Sanction. Just missing one unit, but that's okay. Let's see how much damage it's gonna do. Okay, wow, that just wrecked everything. And I got a clock off. See how much this does. Whoa. Dude. And I got another clock off. Okay, now let's wrap this up with a quick review. So starting off, I really admire her character design. I'm a big fan because she's the most princessy character there is, like in terms of her behavior, in terms of her looks as well. So she kind of exemplifies all of the princesses. I mean, there's a lot of princesses in the princess faction, but none of them are exactly as princessy as her. And she has a really reliable faction buff, which is better than Luna's in many content. And what I mean usually is that Luna's buff doesn't do any damage to the dragons, meanwhile hers does. So she's got great stats, and her kit is pretty good for the ice dragon especially. And I mean, she's got a magic defense break passive, which is really good for bossing as well. And her single damage actually rivals Chris, and actually probably deals more damage than Chris, given you get the magic defense break off. And she's got solid skills to mess with your opponents in PvP, and she is by far the best spam mage and bedroom cleaner. So once you have her to tidy up your dirty ass bedroom, you will never ever look back. And take my word for it, guys, take my word for it. And as for her cons, the biggest one of them all I see is that she doesn't have a really good one-shot skill that complements her AoE kit. So what this means is that her AoE isn't going to be doing a whole lot of good stuff like Bozo would with his seal passive and with his talent. And she's only belonging into one faction, which makes her team building a bit limited in that regard. And another one is that I feel like Cleanse could be a bit more powerful, as it is only a single target, so the buff removal happens only after, right? So it should be before. Either that or the buffs should be increased to 4 buffs to make it more viable for PvP users as well, since in PvP they're going to have a crap load of buffs, and 2 is not, seriously, it's not enough. And here's my verdict on her. So I'm going to be giving a 9 for PvE and a 8.5 for PvP, because I feel like, you know, she doesn't live up to the standard as much as Bozo in PvP, for example, and Lana. She's definitely like not as good as the other heroes at doing their AoE damage, but she does however have the cooldown reduction talent, which is a saving grace, and if it goes to -2 turns, it makes her a very spammable mage indeed, given that she can actually live in PvP, you know, because it's a struggle to stay alive sometimes there. I guess that's why she has the healing passive to make up for that, right? So she's a sustained spam mage. All in all though, she's a really solid unit and a great complement to the Princess faction indeed, and a much needed unit if you're going for World Arena, where you're going to be having 2 faction buffers, just in case in gold they can actually ban 1 faction buffer. So definitely a good flex in that regard, and a very solid waifu. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed this one, and stay tuned if you want to see more content like this. Peace!
あなたの部屋は汚すぎますね。私が掃除して差し上げましょうか。